Hi, I'm Ian Carpenter from LiveONE.TV. I'm here with New York City mayoral candidate 2025, Tabitha Ward. Thank you so much for coming, Tabitha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, this is going to be an exciting conversation. Tabitha is one of the candidates in an election coming around next November 4th or 5th, I believe. And this is a chance for us to get to hear about your policies and platforms. Okay. What would you like to tell us about what you would do as New York City's mayor? What are your policies?
As mayor, I will solve the following problems for New York City. It will be in the areas of immigration, budget, taxes and revenue, jobs and education, infrastructure, law enforcement and crime prevention, and a few additional policies.
Okay, immigration in New York is a huge topic. What are your plans for our immigration situation?
Well, with immigration, I will support mass deportation, and I will also support working with the Trump administration with his endeavors. And the reason why I support mass deportation is because of the mass saturation or the overpopulation of selected cities and crimes, selected cities and towns across the United States. Also, with immigration, I will ensure that every immigrant in New York City can provide proof of citizenship or legal resident status, regardless of their years of employment, their employment status, their community standing, their family connections. It doesn't matter. I will ensure that everyone in New York City that is an immigrant can provide proof of citizenship or proof of legal resident status. Also, I will ensure that New York City is not inundated with the different type of programs or paroles or authorizations that take place under the migrants. Some of the migrants are paroled into the United States. That would be the ones from Cuba, Honduras, Nicaragua, Venezuela. There's so many that are in this city that are paroled into the United States. And I believe that, with the United States, there are approximately 20,000 incorporated cities and towns across the United States. And we need to be able to move them into other cities and towns across the United States in order to desaturate or, to remove the saturation, the mass saturation and the overpopulation within New York City and other sanctuary type cities across the United States. Also, with the immigrants that are remaining in in New York City, the ones that have been convicted of a violent crime or a violent offense cannot remain in New York City. Now, I don't have any control over whether or not they remain in the United States. However, if they were convicted of a violent crime or a violent offense, they cannot remain in New York City. And I will ensure that every biological male that is a legal immigrant between the ages of 18 and 65 has registered for the selective services or the draft.
Okay.
That is very important. That is our number one patriotic duty in this country for every biological male is to have registered for the draft, and I will ensure that everyone that falls under that category has registered for the draft. Mm-hmm. And I will also offer immigration classes for those that are remaining. Some of them will be offered and some will be required to take those classes. Immigration classes are very important. There was a time that you could not immigrate into the United States without taking classes to teach you about the laws, to teach you about the customs and about the different way of life in the country, so that there isn't a lot of cultural incompatibility. Some of us have had experience of living next door or living around people that are clearly from another country, and there's a big difference there. There's a big difference there. Sometimes there's clashes and conflicts, and it is simply because they are not as aware of the way of life here.
I know what you mean. So the ducks are going to stay in the ponds and the parks.
Also, moving on with budget. With the budget, I will eliminate government waste by instructing a citywide audit of every city agency, every social program, office, and contracts that are receiving funding from New York City. This will remove redundant programs and overstaffed positions that are within our city government agencies. The citywide audits will begin with the Human Resources Administration. In my opinion, there is mass government waste within that agency. And they consist of subcontracts that are overstaffed, and the jobs and the functions are redundant and constantly repeated. And also, I will ensure that there is no longer mixed bag housing. Some of the government ran or the city government ran residential housings that are in New York City, they consist of mixed bag housing. And I'll go over this a little further down, but it consists of people that are suffering from severe mental illness diagnoses, and they put them in these buildings with Americans that do not have severe mental diagnoses. So when they have episodes, or when they're not taking their medication, or when they're not doing that, it puts the other residents in those buildings in a position to where they have to deal with them. And a lot of us are not trained, we're not skilled, we don't know what to do. And the police, sometimes they arrive, sometimes they don't. They've implemented a social services programs, but they don't always arrive. And they have some of the buildings, residential buildings, have different programs in them to address this issue, but these people are not. They don't have the education for it. They don't have the skills for it, and they pretty much leave the responsibility of dealing with those that have severe mental illness diagnoses. They leave them to the other residents. Yeah. They've often done that. I will overhaul the social programs with New York City to include the rental assistant programs with City FEPS, Section 8, Section 9, to ensure that each recipient is directly receiving his or her benefits through direct deposit. It is the same as with SNAP or EBT, Social Security, retirement, pensions, veterans benefits, or paychecks. You directly receive these things through direct deposits, and I will ensure that every recipient that is on Section 8, Section 9, that is receiving city FEPS, that they will directly receive their benefits, so that they will be responsible for paying the landlord the rental amount. And if they have a personal contribution that they are to pay, they will be responsible. This will give them liberty and freedom to decide where they live, because the way the system is set up now, someone else determines where you live. Someone else determines what community or what neighborhood you live in. You don't have a say, because they will directly pay the landlords, and you have to go where they send you. You don't have a say in that. You cannot move if you choose to move. You cannot move. You cannot do anything. You are literally at their behest. I will require permanent housing, exclusive permanent housing for the mentally ill. They can only be referred by board certified and licensed mental health professionals or judges. These are judges that issue mentally disordered letters to people that are suffering from severe mental diagnoses. This permanent housing, it is permanent. These permanent housing they will live there. This will be permanent for them. I've said that a couple of times. It will be permanent. It will be staffed with both doctors and nurses. It'll also be staffed with security and people to just general staff to ensure to meet their needs. The permanent housing, in order for them to leave, now they can live there, they will live there, but in order for them to leave throughout the day, or to go and enjoy their day, they have to have met all of their medical appointments, attended their appointments, attended their counseling and therapy sessions. They have to have taken their medication, which will be given at the dispensary that will be on site. They cannot keep their medications in their apartments or in their units with them. They will have to go to this dispensary that will be open 24/7. And they will have to go there, and they will receive a green light if they make their medical appointments, if they attend their counseling sessions, if they take their medication, they can leave. If they choose not to, they will be unable to leave the facility. They have to stay on the premises. We will have doctors. We will have mental health professionals. We will have members of the clergy. We will have social workers who will be assigned to make purchases and run errands for those who are unwilling and refuse to fulfill their requirements in efforts to exit the premises. I will also ensure that they have to have a green light in order to leave the premises. If they have a red light, if they're doctors, if the social workers, if the nurses, even if the security guards give them a red light, they cannot leave. If they have the green light, they're free to leave. However, if they give them a green light and allow them to leave, even though they have not made their medical appointments, have not been taking their medication, have not attended their counseling and therapy sessions, the nurses, the doctors, or the security guard will be held responsible if that individual leaves and poses a harm to themselves or others. Under taxes and revenue, I will initiate a required summer employment program for all high school students in the grades of 11th and 12th. When I was in high school, in the 11th and 12th grade, I enrolled in a summer employment program. This is where I was allowed to work in Alabama, in Anniston, Alabama. I was able to work at Anniston Bynum Depot. This is a military installation program, a military government installation. I worked there as an office assistant for 2 summers. These programs give high school students in 11th and 12th grade the opportunity to have access to the businesses and the businesses that are offered in New York City. They can work as secretaries or as administrative assistants. They can work with the city government, with the sanitation department and other government agencies. They can work at the Human Resources Administration building. They can work at every government office, a city government agency that we have in New York City. They also can work for different businesses and companies and organizations around New York City. I will also initiate a required 1-year internship for all college and university students in the areas of their major and their minor. This also, I had the privilege of having the internship when I was in college. For my undergraduate and for my graduate, I attended an internship. This gives them experience, this gives them hand-on experience to where once that college student graduate from their college or university, they have at least 1 year of hands-on experience working in their field, in their major or in their minor. It's the same with the high school students in the 11th and 12th grade. They will have 2 summers, will give them almost 6 months of experience in working in their field of choice. And a lot of them will go on to work at that company or that agency or that business that they spent some time with. A lot of them will go on to work there, and because they'll have the opportunity of seeing how they are as potential employees. The positions that will be offered will be with businesses, companies, non-for-profit organizations, foundations, and citywide government agencies. For the businesses, companies, non-for-profit organizations, foundations, I will not increase taxes. I will not levy additional taxes, and they will receive tax credits to include applying for educational tax credits. This is because those students are in their businesses. They are learning from them. They are teaching them, and they're teaching them how to graduate, to gradually move into the work area. Mm-hmm. So that gives them that. I will solicit and request the opportunity to participate and secure contracts and international outreach and the philanthropy programs that are available on the single market of the European Union on behalf of New York City. The single market does not require membership with the European Union in efforts to secure these contracts. And there are hundreds of billions of dollars available on the single market that are multi-years long contracts. This will guarantee an annual reflux of revenue throughout New York City. The USA and the United States and New York City possess human resources, education, materials, supplies, equipment, the creativity, the intellect, and the knowledge and skills that are available that to fulfill every contract that is available on the single market. The revenue received from the single market with the European Union will provide resources and fundings for the policies, actions of my administration in the areas of immigration, budget, taxes and revenue, jobs and education, infrastructure, law enforcement and crime prevention, and the additional policies. I will not have to incur additional taxes and monies that will be pulled from the budget. Everything that I speak about here, the money will be pulled from the single market contracts with the European Union. Under jobs and education, all New York City schools, public and private, and all colleges and universities must include summer work employment programs with the 11th and 12th grades and one-year internships in the major or minor as a requirement for graduation. The summer employment program, like I spoke before, will ensure hands-on practical experience and applied knowledge in the areas of choice. Again, the businesses, companies, organizations, foundations, and city government agencies will submit forms to the office of to the Board of Education, and these areas where they can receive high school students, listed including the areas where they can receive high school students and or college students. New York City will receive priority bidding and in securing the contracts that are made available on the single market through the European Union, and they will be placed in the front of the line, the businesses, companies, organizations, and foundations and non-for-profit organizations that participate in the summer employment and the one-year internship will be placed in the front of the line, and every contract, if I'm elected as mayor, will filter through New York City before going into other cities and states across the country. These contracts will create jobs, new industries, fields, organizations, and foundations, and will offer small business owners and entrepreneurs, companies, organizations, and foundations, and unions in America the opportunity to bid and secure on hundreds of billions of dollars in contracts. The larger contracts, most likely, and I spoke about this, will probably split up into smaller contracts in efforts to accommodate the requirement.
We have been able to hear the comprehensive platform from New York mayoral candidate Tabitha Ward. We're going to take a break and come right back with questions with the candidate.
The Doge t-shirt is here today. Printed on high-quality 100% soft cotton shirts using non-toxic inks. Available in all sizes. Order yours today. $25 each or $5 for 100. Email info@liveone.tv. Again, email info@liveone.tv. Specify your sizes and quantity.
Okay, candidate Ward, please tell us, are you putting your own platforms together by yourself? Are there any key advisors that you'll be bringing in as mayor? You have one of the more comprehensive platforms of any candidate that I've heard, which is very impressive. You go into real detail with the real problems New York is having. How did you put together such a great platform?
Well, with my years of experience in community and volunteer involvement, I came up with these ideas under the areas of immigration, budget, taxes and revenue, jobs and education, infrastructure, law enforcement, and crime prevention. Mm-hmm. And so I've just started jotting down some notes, and I went from there. And the more I wrote down as to what I would like to see, the direction that I would like to see New York City go in, mm-hmm. the more I came up with. But these are my ideas that I've come up with alone.
Yeah.
I am open with working with other people, obviously. I am open with working with others, and I will work with other people during my administration, to implement these policies and then take their thoughts.
Sure. And I think that the viewers are going to wonder, how are you going to deal with the big money that gets into these races where some of the primary candidates will be, raising millions of dollars. You'll have your own fundraising, but how will you be able to overcome the big money that unfortunately gets into politics?
Well, I'm not, I don't really support the idea of a lot of money that goes into politics. I think it is a practice that should not be considered as far as that. I think there's too much money that goes into politics. A lot of them, when they receive large donations like that, and they receive a lot of money like that, they are beholding to those campaign donors. You'll see them further on down the road during their administration. However, I am just starting from the bottom. So I just have my social media websites where I can receive donations, and also I'm registered with the New York City Campaign Finance Board.
Right.
So this is how I'm doing it, and just making phone calls and asking people if they would like to donate $5, maybe $10, and just go from there. But that's just how I am,
Right. And can you tell us what the links are or those websites are?
Oh, sure. Change.org. I am registered. I'm there as Tabitha Ward for New York City Mayor 2025. I'm on LinkedIn.com, and that is under Tabitha Ward. Facebook.com, Tabitha Ward. Instagram.com, Tabitha Ward for New York City Mayor 25. X.com, Tabitha Ward for New York City Mayor 2025 at Tabitha CL Ward. And again, I'm registered with the New York City Campaign Finance Board, and you could just click on Contribute. After going to that website, you can click on Contribute, and under my name, Tabitha Ward.
Great. And what will be the primary things you'll do to get the finances of the city under control? It's my understanding that New York is bankrupt, and it's going to take a real courageous, bold approach to be able to get the city able to really function again financially.
Under budget, I will eliminate government waste by instructing a citywide audit, and that is to address those very issues. The reason why the city is bankrupt is because of the overspending, because of the redundant programs and funding these programs, and the redundant staff positions, and there's also sub-programs within these within the government agencies where there are people that are working there, but they're not doing anything. They don't really fulfill a purpose there. They're not fulfilling any function. It's just where they're basically riding the budget.
It sounds like Elon Musk Doge Department of Government Efficiency may also have a place in New York.
Absolutely. They're riding the budget.
Another question I'm curious about, which candidate would you like to debate the most? Would it be Mayor Adams or potentially candidate Como? Or who do you think would make the best debate for you?
I'm open to debating with any of them. It doesn't matter. I believe that my policies are basically they're solid, and they will bring about a change to New York City for what New York City needs. And I am open to debate with any of them, actually.
All right, you hear that,
just put
candidates?
those policies right out there.
Right. Well, let's hope that they get that message. Before we wrap up, what else would you like to tell us about your campaign so that people know that Tabitha Ward is a candidate in the New York mayoral election 2025?
The last two policies would be infrastructure. Under infrastructure, all no-bid contracts with the city government will go to repair and replace and upgrade and relocate NYCHA and low-income residential buildings. This is important because we hear in the news where you see where the buildings are dilapidated, where they're run down, they don't have heat. A lot of them don't have heat. A lot of them don't have hot water. A lot of them have mold. A lot of them have, mildew and dust and so on and so forth. And the no-bid government contracts will go to repairing these buildings. And there will be selected residential buildings that are exclusively used for the mentally ill, those that have mental illness. This will pull them out of the residential buildings that they're in now, in the communities that they're in where they're not receiving the proper care. Yeah. This will pull them out of there. And also I will offer flood insurance for every New York City resident and business. This is very important because, when you look at the California fires, unfortunately, a lot of them had fire insurance, but then a lot of them did not, and they just pretty much lost everything. And this is unfortunate. In New York City, we have our thing would be flood. We would have to deal with floods.
Right.
And I want to offer flood insurance or get with a insurance company that will offer a very affordable rate for flood insurance for New York City. Last but not least will be law enforcement and crime prevention. Every police officer in New York City under the New York Police Department will undergo a federal background check in efforts to remove any blind spots. Right now, police officers only have to go through a city or state background check. But New York City Police Department, they don't have to undergo a federal background check, and that is important. That is very important. Also, and this will also ensure that they can provide, every police officer can provide proof of citizenship and legal residence status. This will eliminate the threat of blackmail, extortion, and coercion. Ensure that every biological male police officer has registered for the draft, selective services, or the draft. Police officers will require personal liability insurance. The budget with the police department is is inundated with paying for premiums for liability insurance for the police officers. And there are excessive premiums and settlements with the police department. Now they will be able to pay for those themselves. I will dismantle the Civilian Complaint Review Board and turn this information over to the City Council to handle, back to the City Council. And the New York Police Department Firearms License Division will be dismantled, and this will be turned over to the City Council. I've had experience with this, but I do feel like the police department with the fire department, the firearms license division needs to be turned over to the City Council to ensure that everybody who apply for a firearm license is receiving a fair evaluation instead of, someone who, instead of being subjected to community opinions and assessments and complaints and thoughts of people in the community, but to ensure that when they run that background check on that individual, the information come back is accurate. I've had experience with that. It's accurate and can check out. And I will ensure that everyone who possesses firearms and ammunitions require mandatory firearm insurance to include the police officers. For private, when they're off duty and they want to carry their firearm, they will have to acquire firearms and ammunition insurance. And they will also attend, everyone who possesses firearms and ammunitions will be required to attend responsible gun ownership classes. It'll be 8 hours every 6 months or 16 hours annually. These are my policies here, and this will also just ensure that everyone, to where as a resident in New York City, that everyone who is carrying a firearm or carrying firearms and ammunition, that they have insured, they are insurance, they have insurance, and that they also are able to, that they have received training. So that's a bit of a security there. You have that knowledge of they're going to receive training. They have the insurance and they have the training in place. And I will also, and last but not least, and this is really quick, ensure that every person that is every transgender individual are able to use their locker rooms, restrooms, and play on the professional sports teams of their birth, of their biological sex, instead of, this will create an environment to where they feel safe that they can do that. They can still, dress and appear in their chosen gender, but they will be required to use the restrooms, locker rooms, and the professional sports teams of their sex. I will have free public transportation. The money will come from the single market, and free Wi-Fi in all NYCHA and low-income buildings.
Okay, thank you so much, Candidate Ward. Definitely our viewers have heard from a candidate that actually has plans, has thought about them in all the different areas. They're all crucial for New York City. And it was a pleasure to hear them from you. Most other candidates are just involved in sound bites. So I think you've shown and demonstrated how important a mayor is and how important all of these issues truly are. So please come back in again.
I'll be happy to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And it'll give me an opportunity to go and, to answer any questions that anybody may have and to, kind of explain any areas that I may have missed.
Okay. Well, we've been listening to candidate Tabitha Ward, who's running in the current New York City mayoral election for 2025. You've been watching LiveOne.tv, LiveOne_TV on X. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.